Sierra Leone is a very small country, a population of now with the 8 million, 7 million, 8 million people, and we get almost, we will say, one university, if you like. University of Sierra Leone divided into various components. It's either you go to University of Sierra Leone, you go IPAM or Jala. You go IPAM or you go Commerce or you go FBC. If not to that, you go Jala. So now we talk about other universities now, whether it might this last at least 10 years. But why that one is important? Because everybody, because of the nature of the country and the nature of the population, we all know each other. We all know one another. And in the country, we say very few people active, so to speak. The one that we're in at the public space are people that you know, and people that you're going to interact with. And I repeat, as over the last 20 years, writing in newspapers, being politically active, going to school, virtually every political party we don't come in a salon. I know everybody with it. I have met them either in my capacity as a journalist or they are my school, school colleagues, people who go to school, primary school, secondary school, or Frobe College. So why I decided to emphasize this, that the fact that all say una and my friends them, some of una know me, we don't sit down together, we don't talk about what it take for build the country. We all don't grumble about how things then go bad, especially the I mentioned stock press. Now everybody knows stock press now owned by the late Pius Foray. That was the hub of the Democrat newspaper. Me don't work for Democrat before I go Concord Times and also now common places where everybody don't meet. You don't understand. So we don't, basically I was saying, it does not mean because we don't meet at the same, we don't play at the same playground, we don't go to the same school, me and you na party, means if you can na power, you do things the way not right. I got to close my eyes then. That mean relationship with you not mean say for close my eyes even if things that go bad. No, the country in interest, the future of the country, the future of the generation of other incoming generations more better for me, more primary than my relationship with you. In fact, my relationship with you is subjective. Not even secondary to the national interest. The national interest therefore come number one. Then I remind them that. So basically what I was calling their attention to is that you have messed up the country in 2 years. That in these 2 years, we don't watch now. We see how they go. And some of these people, I have also spoken to them, like take phone call. But so country, they go now, this is not how you run a country. So since you are not listening to it, then there is no way you are going to change. The things have gotten worse. I think it's high time that we don't have to. You understand? Somebody needs to stand up and speak truth to power. And especially now, I think is the best opportunity because these are individuals who told me, who we all sat together and said things were going wrong. And if you had the opportunity of correcting it, you should correct it. So I am so disappointed that you can be in that position and refuse to solve things. So when I begin, on my Facebook, I begin write about these things, before I begin publishing, before I begin do investigations and publish, the signs of how things will go bad were evident. Prices, commodity prices, the hardship, the violence, and all of them here. And the excessive traveling of the president, the fact that they are no longer announcing the levels of transparency don't diminish from the time that take power increasingly. Then I begin warn about these things on my Facebook. So these individuals send them young bobode who is abuse, small guys for when I go insult on a Facebook page. So if you look at that article, I even published some of those insulting Facebook messages. Okay, and so basically I'm saying that if una mistake say because we all been opposed to an ex-Roma, we all know one that one don't kind of power naturally have to support anything yes, we do. You guys are mistaken. So now be a warning. Basically, I was just letting them know that now, yeah, this is a dividing line. When it comes to the country, my friendship is tertiary to the national interest. That if we go for pathways when it comes to the interest of the people, the interest of the country, in my view, I would choose the country over your friendship, your supposed friendship, or my acquaintance with you. Not mean say if I look you do bad, I will support you. And so I had to write that out, openly made it known. Basically, I was telling them, you've messed up the country, and I'm going to take you on the same principles that we took Anes Kroma on, and I'm standing on that same line. That when I do this, una know say, It's not that I hate you people. I am just being the same person that you know, the same person that you admired, that you supported when I was fighting against Ernest Bah, and exposing the same injustices against Ernest Bah, because you have made things more worse in my own estimation, and the evidence before me tells me you have gotten more worse in this time than even before now. So I basically announced these things to them. I told them privately, and I had to write it publicly, because I knew when I told them privately and I didn't talk about them, warning them so they could change things, they started insulting me. I even remember I get them Facebook, public messages, private messages. Some of them even use this casual insulting thing. They say, "Na pass, you don't drink." These are boys sending, they presented party boys that were saying these things. So I said, okay. Then I wrote this essay and then publish it first and say, I think it's high time we draw the line. So that's what I did.
Indeed, people, I just go on in that very article, waiting Mr. Bah go on for say, the thing that we even been the talk about, we Ernest Bah been in a power X. Now the same thing them in the talk about now, but the only difference is that the level at which the thing then they happen, it don't boku, it pass waiting in they happen, we Ernest Bah been in a power. He then goes on to say, when we were all in opposition 2007 to 2018, SLPP members mistook my opposition as being in favor of the SLPP. I forgave them in thinking that way. In a battle of opponents, one is always likely to think that the enemy of their enemies is their friend. In the year that I was active as an opposition politician and political activism, I came across many of the individuals now in power during our many television and radio talk shows. For the most part, SLPP supporters cheered my uncompromising stance against the APC at the time. Give me a second. And he goes on to say, I do this not as a response to their futile attack designed to silence me, but to signal to these licensed SLPP cyber vigilantes that the grace period, the carte blanche we gave Mada Bio and the SLPP has expired. It is now time that citizens speak out and hold Bio and his government on account of the electoral promises. Most importantly, I am proclaiming that the people of Sierra Leone, the importance of independence and critical voices willing to stand up to the misuse of power, regardless of which party is in office, as citizens. And this is the key point. Say, as citizens, we have the right and the democratic responsibility to ask what Bio and his government have done with their power since they occupied the State House. Contract. Why has the national currency also continued to collapse? Why has double-digit inflation continued to rise? Why have commodity prices scaled? Yet SLPP cyber partisans have been licensed to smear and heckle any voice that attempts to scrutinize the Bio regime. Mr. Bah, I want to make you tackle this question precisely to we people them. Why it important for make we ask questions? Why it important for whole government to account? Why it important, in your own words, the carte blanche, the time period where we give them, the grace period where we give them is enough?
Yeah, it's been very important for make that point and they're very clear because it seemed to me that every period leaders or people with power need some reminders. And not only that, I noticed in the 2 years, first before this article came up, when the government take 100 days, okay, I write one small piece while I post on my Facebook. I call them 100 days questions we must discuss. So in that piece, I talk about the science, because initially, from the very first day where the government constitute the transition committee, and then I begin talk about, when I see them begin carry with old civil servants, okay, old politicians, people that remember and associate with the moral decadence that they country, with the politics of looting as part of the administration, and I begin to say, oh no, this is not right. This is not a new direction. This is not what you promised. So when I begin to point out that, many of them got offended, because for them, power has already arrived, that the complaints for done. So some of them begin to say, oh, you just left for criticize. Okay, or some of them begin to even say it too early. I even noticed some of these SLPP supporters, I noticed some of them begin to delete me from their WhatsApp groups, and they never wanted the conversation. Okay, that went on for like 2 years, increasingly. So finally, I observed things and begin to get worse. The violence at the country, the attack on parliament, the attack on the opposition, by-election violence, and all of this, the brutality. So I said, oh no. Now I think, say, if we've been in doubt whether this government, it will be too early or not, this is not mistakes anymore. They know the line along the job. So people need to speak out. So then I decide to engage them now. But before even this essay, I will not begin to write on my Facebook 2-3 sentences, one comment for one. Say no. Like when government announce something, I write one comment. So what that was meant to do was to tell them that is not how you do things. Okay, because initially you will say these people just got into office. Maybe there are challenges. Maybe they don't know how to do things. Okay. But for me, I've not been feel saying that ignorance or whatever, but I never wanted a situation as well where people say you did not give them chance. So in observing them for 24 months, I already see the consistent decline, the deviation from the party manifesto, the deviation from the election promises, and lack of regard for people and voices. So I see the democratic space begin to shrink. People don't become afraid for even talk. People that maybe they talk in the past don't go silent. I say, no, this is not good. So I decide to ring the bell and say, hey, you have had more than enough time to recalibrate, to think, to move the country according to what you promised. And you have abandoned that promise. And now you have intensified violence. You are almost repressing your opponent. So I decided, say, we have to begin to hold this government accountable. And then I begin do. That was when I was also observing internally how the government they function. Okay, apart from the public pronouncement, by the time I write that article, I was already deep in investigating the government. Okay, I was already looking at the financial operation of the government, because I noticed that they may not abandon the idea of announcing almost of the generating revenue, almost of the generating when they travel, how many people they travel with the president. They don't abandon all those things. So I started saying, why is this? Why have they stopped doing that? So I was already investigating how they were operating different from what they are saying publicly. At the city public pronouncements, I've been an investigator as well. They look at, how is this? So I was tracking the performance of the government behind the scenes. While they said, so I tried to match the public conversation of the government officials and what they were doing behind the scenes. So as I said, the two, because these are individuals that I know, I was able to look at them from both ends, from both sides of the coin, what they were doing behind stage, what they were doing, above ground. So I say, no, as I say, this is heading for disaster. People need to be informed about this, because people have been seduced to just talk about what had happened in the country in the last 10 years, ignoring what was going on. So I said, no, we need to end this noise about government's commitment to fighting. They say an empty economy, the country bankrupt, they inherited a bankrupt economy, empty purse and empty. And I realized it was a lie. So for me, that was too much to even think about and to even begin to understand. And then the hypocrisy, the public performance was different from what we are doing behind the scenes. So I'm saying, no, this cannot be the individuals who we sat down together in, people that radio. We were on radio, on television, talking about corruption, talking about bad governance, talking about human rights violations under Nkrumah. And here you are doing worse than that situation. And people have been unable to see it because of the noise that they are also making to distract the population from this ongoing bad conduct, bad affairs which happen behind the scenes, behind the curtains. So I said, no. But before I wrote this, I was also asking them, why are you doing these things? And every time I say to them on my Facebook, like one sentence in a Facebook comment, or even in a WhatsApp group comment, what I noticed in the WhatsApp group comment was I was being deleted from these social groups, social media forums where we are. So I said, This is a sign of dictatorship. If somebody not ring the alarm bells on this situation, the country is going to head towards a disaster without everybody. Then they realize the damage will be too much and difficult to repair. So I had to write these words now openly and say, well, if we not feel say we quite in everybody, if we not think say we all not party, we not to party, but we come to country interest to and the country in future is more important to us than even this thing that you're doing, and especially in a situation where you have proven to be uncommitted to the things you said you were committed to over the last 10 years. So I decided that this situation has to be made known to the public, and that the public has to be educated, and also to remind people that there is no holiday when it comes to the question of engaging government, that democracy cannot exist without contestation, democracy cannot exist without conversation, that the path to good governance, to the rule of law, to accountability, to the management of public finance can only be made possible by an engaged citizenship, engaged citizens. So the idea of an engaged citizenship, when they make democracy qualitative. If you look all across, for example, I hate to talk about America as an example when I talk about Africa, but you see, with the 4 years of the Trump presidency, there was no break. Okay, citizens were actively engaged in the conversation. So up to the last minute, up to now, they're talking about how to address the damage that has been caused by 4 years of a previous administration. And not forget that is a part to while we talk about the past, but we cannot talk about the past at the expense of what is ongoing. And I have decided that, it is high time we put what is ongoing in as part of the national conversation. The national conversation must include both the past and the present, because it's only by bringing the past and the present into proper perspective that we will be able to define what the future will look like. Okay, we cannot just talk about the past, spend all the time and talk about the past. Then it means we are ignoring the present, we are subtracting a major aspect of what we require as a country, as a people, and as a nation for move forward. National development is not, it's not something you split in two halves. So this is basically my own idea, and I felt that it would be a disservice to have individuals who I consider or who considered me in the past as a friend, as a colleague, as a schoolmate, as somebody we stood on the same platform to talk about what we think is required for national development, and allow these individuals to get away with this, opportunity that they're using to destroy the country and destroy the future of the country, because it's not just going to affect their own kids, it's going to affect my own kids as well. Okay, it's going to affect generations. So I decided, say, whatever that I should do within the limits of my skills and my knowledge, experience, and expertise, I will do it repeatedly over and again to ensure that another side of the conversation that is required as part of the democratic process has to be part of the national dialogue. And that is what conditioned. But before I did it, I reminded these individuals that I'm going to do it. I not just got Maduam. I told them I told them I'm going to do it. I wrote about what I'm going to do, the questions that I'm going to force them to discuss, which they don't want to discuss. I've announced it to them before ever and made it publicly, like a public declaration.
Humble them for that way, say the book is different for we. He said even before he begin dancing the Yaso Canada, he said even they tell them, even they want them, even they kunani to them. Say, then I wanna do so, are they looking inside you? Una take them, una watch you, una sample with what you una do, but they're not taken serious. Instead, they just continue. Thinking that because, like again, they all been on sit down inside one kotoku before, they all been on sit down at the same place before, and they all have been paddy. So therefore, this paddy also not go tell me to. I not cut you, Mr. Bah, carry on.
Yeah, so basically, interesting that you interpret that. So I'm learning. But thank you, Matilda, for helping me, because sometimes it's very difficult for get messages across. Yeah, but this kind of thing, I announce them to them. I tell them now, when I don't get 2 years, it's more than enough time for me to address if I be mistake or if I challenges, if I all of this. So now that this 2 years, the grace period would have been get, that free holiday would have been get for do what I want for do, it don't done. Now not time for serious business, not time for make democratic conversation take place, not time for me to begin scrutinize una and ask una the hard questions. And the same question will be the ask and Eskuruma. Now turn this now for ask you, Mr. Madabio, what you don't do with power. Why you don't fly past every president of the country?
Indeed, now turn this one for ask question.
From where you can power, think just the tranga, no more the tranga. Why make the currency, the leon, just the loss in value, no more the lost value?
Indeed, now turn this way we for ask Baku question, and I turn this way we for all account. Una all be no say when the new government take over, we now that time that we read this name here so-called spending like drunken sailors. We read this word, drunken sailors. Basically, what means say, they spend money like they cement them. We don't drink beberebe one, or we don't catch boku fish, beberebe fish. So then gladdy say they not even know now auction, and they auction the fish now waff. So the question when me want ask right now, in your January 18 article, you say Sierra Leone's financial law preclude the wife of a sitting president from receiving direct public funds to undertake any campaign or public activities while in office. If we law them really clearly say this, how come the First Lady access so much money from the consolidated fund? How did it happen?
Yeah, well, one of the that's a very important question, and I believe say even with Parliament don't invite the Minister of Finance. From what I read from the papers and what I see on videos, and the bank governor for go to Parliament and provide answer for this question, because according to them, in all these 3 years within the approved budget, when they talk about the budgetary estimates, what they agree with, they approve from the government use, there was no line in the budgetary estimate for anything like office of the First Lady. So for me, when I begin see, I can raise the questions and say whether this government prudent with reducing waste and all of this. I just take the government in promises and try to see if exactly what they promise and they do. I begin watch, and one area where I watch in a public expenditure, the management of public finance, and then I can find out say, in fact, for example, the wage bill don't increase, government spending don't increase. And one way we then do that because the president passed what we call Executive Order 1, if you remember, in April, which I the executive order one way talk say now therefore implement a single treasury account. The single treasury account now
Yeah.
for make sure say all the money for then one government account that one way for control make minister them other institutions don't spend money fitty fatter frivolously. So in real economic sense, that will make really good sense because then it means when the money on the one side, anyone loan with the commodity, the government go know, the Minister of Finance go know how they spend it. The Financial Secretary go know how they spend it. The Accountant General go know how they spend it. So they go control expenditure. They don't give money to anybody they don't want for give because they don't control all the account, one account. So what did we find out now that for investigate how this one account almost day inside it. And basically whether this money where they don't centralize so really they use the money correct way. So as part of my investigation, and I can find out say, oh, in fact, this single account now, it don't allow the people there for spend money way we say the people in the country know, and not even everybody inside government knows how they spend the money because now waiting and tell the people themselves say that this no money inside. Then people will believe. That this number we don't spend, then people will believe. So in my investigation now, I can find out say, oh, they don't spend more money than they take money for travel. 50 fat when they travel out of the country, they not only go out of the country, they go with loads of money. You don't understand? And they withdraw money, then 30,000, 50,000, 100,000, 400,000. Then they send a per diem. And I can find out say so that makes sense because this current president will get don't travel past almost any president who don't get in this short time. So the question why they travel, I can find out say, oh, for every trip where they go, it must take 50, 100, 200,000. You don't understand? It go down.
Yes.
And that money no they return. The money no they return at the country. So then I can say, oh, okay, this centralization of government account don't make the president get direct access to the treasury and they take the money go nobody know they know including even people everything in government. So then I begin looking at how this money they come out through travel, through like what you talk about the overhead expenditure for give money to his wife for running your own activities we're not a part of the budgetary plan, not a part of the money where parliament approve. So then I can find out, say, in the wife of the president get an account with the central bank, you get an account with the local commercial bank, we in a government account then, and at the government they put money, other NGOs they put money. So a lot of information there, in fact, about how these people run the country, not even, we just begin sample the evidence when people see so. So basically...
My question is, if we say we run a central account, a central deposit, now from that central deposit there, if you want for do anything, the money for come up from that central deposit there, under a certain signatory, how come the first lady in get two separate accounts them where they run, and the first lady's office, as important as clearly stated, the Gender and Children's Affairs Office, neither is it as important as, say, the Foreign Affairs, because Foreign Affairs now a very big office, because that is where through Dande you dey build bilateral and multilateral relations. So it is quite surprising that a Ministry of Foreign Affairs not even get 1/4 of the money we sit down inside the office of the First Lady in your account. How is that possible?
Yeah, that we say the logic for create a single treasury account in most economic environments now for cut down waste. That are the argument where economists tend to give. But in this case, because you don't centralize the account, it means people will not get direct access. Not everybody get access into the account. They don't know how money they come out and go in. So now would you want for Guinea? So this this make in some discussion I refer this kind of situation say the advanced method of concealing graft, a way for hide corruption. Okay, because now on the June 28th, where we say office of the first, people for no say the office of the first lady, not to a government institution, you're not supposed to get government funding. So apart from the fact that you get more money than other ministries, you're not be even supposed to get direct government funding. But then they argue again, say the current account who they talk about, for example, at the Bank of Sierra Leone, now existing account. No, that account was created on June, was opened on June 28th, okay, 2018, almost 1 month after the government came to power with 2,980,000,000, okay, with a government check of that amount. Then they just open the account with. And in the first 6 months alone, we get over 7 billion where they put at the account. That was also all spent. So what am I saying is that the single treasury account now make this possible for the president because they're able to hide government expenditure from the public and also from even people within government. There are people within government who believed that the government is broke, that the country broke, APC will not ruin the economy before they come, so there was no money. So for me, looking at the conduct of the government, if there was no money, how did they travel, all this continuous traveling? Why the first lady, they spend all these kind of activities, they claim they don't receive money, not new money they use. I said, no, this cannot be true. So I decided to look at behind the curtains. What are these people doing? How are they conducting the management of public finance? And then I uncover these methods of stealing. We are very advanced methods of stealing. And what it makes them so disturbing and so difficult for Square. Now the fact that this is at the same time where these people they talk about fighting corruption, okay, chasing people who don't supposedly thief money. Then they do that one, the public they follow them with that kind of noise, while they loot the country in this kind of fashion. So this is why you find out that at the beginning, for over 2 years, almost 3 years now, the first lady, for example, not ever admit to the fact, say, they received government money because they knew it was illegal and it was a hidden operation. That's where they hide that. Now only when the evidence of it, the material, the tangible evidence that cannot be contested, cannot be denied, come out, we publish them. And if you watch, not to the first time this whole don't begin signal, say the first lady they get money. Way back on March 15, we published an article what we call Concealing Fiscal Costs. Okay, concealing fiscal costs, basically hiding public expenditure. We say the single treasury account where the government creates for help for minimize waste. Now they use them as an opportunity for cover the ongoing theft of public money. We don't signal this, and we publish a first letter where the office of the president, they show the Minister of Finance writing to the office of the First Lady for say they don't give 3.1 billion, 3,111,000,000 to the First Lady for support the 2-day launching ceremony of the Hands of Our Girls campaign on the 13th to the 14th and 15th of December 2018. So basically, there are several layers to this where people need to understand. One, that the office not is supposed to receive first public money, government money from the consolidated fund. The First Lady, when we bring this thing out, they say yes, he tried to justify and say, we expect her to get money, but she had denied that before. Why don't you admit? Then he tried to justify, say, he used the money reasonably. In the first place, you don't have no right, no legal authority for even hold 1 leon of the country money in that fashion. Now, whether you use them correctly or not, that's a different conversation. And then we check how you use the money where you say you use, where you spend. You don't spend them back accordingly because the laws of the country, they will show how you for use government money. For example, if I go buy furniture na you hand, I know they just go no more say Matilda is my friend, now my business associate, I go just go buy. That's not how you do government. You do open tender, you advertise and people then bid and compete. And you independently weigh the people, the possibly most qualified, both in terms of track record, quality of delivery, and how you call it, the effectiveness of the cost. Okay, for make sure say government no buy one chair 2 times the amount of them for buy am. But in the case of the first lady, when you look at the transactions of the office of the first lady, you find out that they bought furniture alone in August 3 times, in September 3 times. So in 2018 alone, the money for furniture go up to 600 million. You don't understand, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Then when you calculate that again, you see them buy the same amount of furniture or more in 2019, in 2020. How can you be buying furniture for the same office? Now with the area discussion now say now one chair and one table and one sofa landing at the office of the first lady. But if you check that one day again, it's not consistent with the amount of money we then claim to spend with. So the question is, where did that money go? Which furniture? Who? So, but now in the latest testimony, because so many they call it now, in the latest version of this explanation about how this money is used or how it was accessed, would they say the trouble in the president in here now? Nine for explain. So, but this is the thing. We don't say for the African Express, our objective was to show, okay, for sure say public expenditure they happen. Public expenditure of this fashion they happen we're not legal. And that we've demonstrated. Nobody able to challenge them up to this point. We not only say we show the evidence of both in terms of financial record and letters. We've done this. For every article where we don't publish consistently on the management of public finance under this administration is supported by evidence. For example, when we talk say the president, this government we talk say they will reduce the wage bill, the number of people on the payroll. We say no, the payroll don't increase by 45% since they come to power. We not only say we show the payroll. We show the amount of people who don't add to the payroll who are mostly political appointments, and not only that, their salaries and PIN codes. The entire payroll of the Minister of Finance will publish on March 1. Where the Minister of Finance one deny, say yes, indeed. Now true say the payroll don't go up, but the teachers that will add to the payroll will say no, it's not teachers, not nurses, it's your political party members who you've given political compensation jobs. And we highlighted some of them. For example, the nutritionist of the president receiving 21 million and some hundred, with more than the salary of a university lecturer, or almost the 1 month salary of the president in nutritionist, what they call cook. Almost the annual salary of a senior nurse at the Ministry of Health. So we show all that here. We don't go as far as showing letters and evidence of political party appointees under this administration where they receive $300, $400, $500 as consultants daily before we come reach to this point. So for almost a year, beginning from the time we are one say we are going now to examine this government, beginning March 1 to now, consistently we have published from one department to the other. We start with Minister of Finance. We showed the same thing. We showed how the customs, Nawataki, then smuggle, then undervalue the timber export by a private company owned by the president and run by him party. We showed that one, they almost cost we the country over $5 billion in potential revenues. We show that we commodity. We show the fact say even in civil aviation, foreign travel taxes that are being collected are not being paid into the banks, into the consolidated revenue fund. We show that one, we commodity. So we don't go from maritime administration to NATCOM. We show even telephone companies almost they owe in debts like Africell, billions in corporate taxes that they're not paying. Government the collector instead, and they take Africell go bill clock tower, the balance money they take and put it in their pocket there. All these ones we've been showing this consistently till we don't come now to the office of the first lady and the president. Almost money they spend in travel, almost money they take go Lebanon, all of this. So basically for us, we don't persistently we call the people their attention to this conversation. It's so interesting that it took almost now a year before the people of Sierra Leone begin understand and begin engage in this kind of conversation, because for the most part, the noise of the regime, the noise of the current administration, they stampede people and voices. For them, corruption no exists. For them, the MCC or whichever organization na in get the right for tell whether corrupt or not. Even when they present the evidence based on their own documents, then it's still contestant. So it's not just this thing not starting with Office of the First Lady. We've been showing department by department, agency by agency. We show even you building 3 ministries, no account for 21 billion. So we don't call this investigation the missing billion series. We've been showing department, agency, ministry by ministry, officials, and each time the government, they say a mistake, legislative mistake in the case of the timber, or they begin call a sensation, or they begin say that we don't hold the people and trade, as in the case of civil aviation, where you saw these anti-corruption people coming out and saying, no, that we don't hold the people and trade in our old case. It can be a new one. So this is not, is an ongoing, we've been doing this for 12 months. So for answer your question, really, the underlying fact we want for tell the people of Sierra Leone, there is endemic corruption under this administration, ongoing in a monumental fashion. And if we aggregate in these 2.5 years, almost 3 years now of this administration, you find out that the corruption that they reported in the white paper and Commission for Inquiry is almost 2 times less now to what we're talking about with this administration in less than 3 years.
You talk about open bidding, open tender, but again, you clearly state, any evidence of procurements them will take place with all of the different, vendors them. See any open, tender will take place. But yet these purchases are made because there are evidence, receipts evidencing the fact that they were made to all of these people. So whose system will they run? When you talk about anti-corruption, not to something they also the anti-corruption for the KPI pan, for prevent even before it happen, not to after it don't happen, then it talks now they open an investigation.
Yeah, I'm glad we talk about that point there, because this not just for one purchase from one vendor, but you see the same vendor receiving money, almost the same amounts in multiple times in a month or over months in the course of the last 3 years. For example, we take AA Enterprises. You look the transactional statements of the Office of the First Lady. It's not just money paid to them cash, it's money transferred from the account of the Office of the First Lady straight into the account of AA Enterprises for furniture. So you see sometimes in one day, 3 payments, 3 transfers of 51 million, 50 million, and stuff like that. And this keep recurring throughout the year. The following month, it does 1-2 times. Maybe they skip 1 month, the other month they do the same thing in the name of furnishing the Office of the First Lady. So these payments are not things they advertised. But not only, this is not just me saying it. If you look the audit report where the Auditor General produced in 2019, the lack of invoicing, and not only that, the exaggerated payments, exaggerated invoicing, where we double invoicing. So if you pay 10 million, you pay 20 million. So you look the same thing for the fear. You see the same expenditure details. You see money where they pay for hotels, money where they pay for supposedly for travel tickets, and sea coach, the Aberdeen taxi ferry when they use. You see the money. You see money is transferred to them. So all these transfers details, we don't publish them. We don't publish the record. We don't show receipts. We don't show letters. So basically, the access to the money, now one illegality, the use of the money was used illegally and corruptly. So, Public Finance Management Act is clear in terms of how you use public funds. Even if you were to assume that the First Lady get right for receive government money, use the money according to how the law say. It's supposed to use that. You know, they go buy furniture, use public money, go buy furniture. Like, where at the cinema, they go help Matida. You get big store where they sell things and so on. I'm a paddy. Why are they go buy petrol? I hand them more. I go buy petrol this month. I go buy petrol next month. We even have a situation where you look the expenditure details of the office of the First Lady. In 2018, they paid for fuel to Demba Enterprises for 3 months. For 2019, when 2019 not reached it, they don't pay fuel for 2019 to this group. The same 2019 again, and pay the same amount of the what they been pay 2018 for the same kind of fuel where they don't pay for. You get this thing, this same pattern recur 2 times in 2019, the same thing in 2020. By between December 11 to December 23rd, they don't transfer no more. Central bank transfer to the account of the First Lady was to the tune of 6.5 billion. Okay, with other money. That's why you see, when we talk about the presidential expenditure into Bond and Gabon, Conakry, and Abidjan, say they to the tune of 5.2 billion. You know, include the money where the First Lady withdraw from your own account within the go bond. When we're talking about, in some cases, 500 million withdrawal, 300 million withdrawal by individuals like Sheikh Salim Feka and all them individuals. So even when the First Lady say, the money still on my account, I not use them. No, she had more money than she can finish by the close of the year. Whereas the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, by the close of the year, they get debt. Then account the negative over 105 million. So you see that what the Minister of Social Welfare, we check the money they receive. Much of it came from church organizations where they renew certificate. There's small youth groups, the way the social welfare groups, the way they register. The other money, bulk money when they receive now transfers from UNICEF and other organizations. Government, when you see government transfer, you know they pass 500 million to the Minister of Social Welfare. Indeed. By the end of the year, the money we then get, up to 1 billion. That is not because they receive more money than spend. Or no, they are not even getting money. So this is true across. When you check the spending agencies, then people where they spend money, the office of the First Lady, the Chief Ministry, Ministry of Finance, and then why are the cabal? These are the individuals where even award themselves then there. You just look at the presidential award then there. It tells you exactly the administrative cartel that has been using the single treasury account as their own, private property, and when they continuously they lose. These are the individuals where they talk say things are going right. So the people of Sierra Leone need for look deeply into these issues and ask them parliamentarians them at the various constituencies, may them raise them questions in the parliament and demand answers from the respective ministries and finance officials, from the bank, central bank, to the finance ministry, the financial secretary, the accountant general's department. Let them explain to the people of Sierra Leone how they have managed the public budget, the national treasury, in these 3 years. Let them come forward and deny that this is not true. We have challenged them because they cannot do it. It's incontrovertible. And waiting they be. That's why I keep telling people what we have shown, the example we've shown to the people of Sierra Leone, is not even up to the 10% of the destruction that has taken place. And they know it, which is why they're trying to be silent. We not for allow the people there for keep quiet because they owe the people a responsibility to answer these questions. For me,
exactly.
I have decided to take this to the right time. I wrote about what I was going to do. And I did exactly that. Why? Because I take as a citizen, this is the contribution I can do to the people and the country for make this conversation happen. I have decided, I don't decide, say, I will provide the information to the people with this evidence, take this evidence, show it to your parliamentarians, ask your parliamentarians, not just them 2 parliamentarians we're talking about parliament, we have to ask our parliamentarians in all these constituencies to raise these questions. Indeed. Make them ask this minister for answer. We already know, so they not be approved money for First Lady. How did the First Lady of Sierra Leone get access to this money? And no, this is not just about First Lady. I don't tell you, when you look from March 1 at the African Express website, right up to the end of January, which you see one report after another from one ministry, one agency, one department about the mismanagement of public money, or excessive spending, the looting of the treasury by a government that claimed it was going to manage the resources prudently, it was going to cut down waste, it was going to. This kind of hypocrisy is something citizens have to demand answers for. How did this happen? Why should it happen?
Exactly. I agree with you. And me family, I know say every time we sit down, I can always the talk for say, government not for the people. Government, we put them there for work for the people. Then that's the answerable to we, not to we answerable to them. But just because they don't make a like for say, now we for answer to them. Not to say it's supposed to be, not them for answer to we. And you see what thing they go on, so it not just left no more to the one them we call themselves minister, heads of agency and government department to even the we parliamentarians them, because they are supposed to be the gatekeepers. Now they're supposed to be the watchman. Now they're supposed to know what thing they happen before it happen. Now under them watch, work where them puts them there for do, where the people them trust. Say them for do for them for better their own life. If they know they do the work, now they make them things so they happen. So like I can tell you now, this talk not get for done today. Everybody will be scrutinized. Every ministry, department and agency, we go look inside the Igbale. We go inside there, we go look, because you know what in pauper, like they say, salon gets for better. Salon must better. We own generation. We no go die and salon no better. It cannot be. It is impossible. On the 25th of January, Mr. Bah goes on to say, video broadcast on Monday, January 18th, 2021. First Lady Fatima Bio had been receiving state funds, but she argued that the said public fund allocated to her organizations were used for what she described as the intended purposes. Remember, say once of when them ask we First Lady say, who say you they pull this money? As he been tell we say. He say, na your money, na in they use for do intending. And when you can get money, it go to a man, it go beg a man, and a man they get money. Then una be member say again, key statement where he make. He say, and then I can go to me young good people them, me paddy them. I can go bigger. Then all the he put na the kotoku. Where they don't put na the kotoku, waiting there inside the kotoku, now I can take and use and do the thing then what they do. Well, guess what? That kotoku is me and you with taxpayer money then. That kotoku, now that money where the EU they use for subsidize with financial budgets. That kotoku, now that release we're more inside World Bank and the IMF as debt relief. So what make we know for ask question? If me 1 million there inside that kotoku de, it mean for say for ask question. If you 1 million there inside that kotoku de, you say for ask question. So we are not taking any prisoners here. This not about targeting a particular individual, but about not being patriotic. As a matter of fact, the greatest service you can render to your nation in terms of patriotism is not maintaining the status quo, not for Sidon settlement. I go to the technical team and ask the technical team, make them play a recent interview done by Umaru Fofana, and then I go give Mr. Bah the opportunity, make it answer. Fumble them. Again, technology. Una don't mind me green face. Me green face not only there for Nayaso today. Una listen to the content. Una listen to the word them. Make we hear so that we not go be, silent passerby. We not go be, silent bystanders. we all have to be participators. We all need for put we an inside the poto. We all dirty inside. We all dirty we an inside the poto, and we all go na the how they call am, na the river, na the water side go wash we an. So na that we they do right now. Let me go to the technical team.
Focus on Africa. I'm Audrey Brown. Stay with us for the rest of the hour. Sierra Leone's Fatima Mada Bio, she is the first lady, and she's denied allegations that billions of euros, that is hundreds of thousands of US dollars, have been illegally used to furnish the office of the first lady. The allegations, which are made by the US-based organization Africanist Press, also say the same office received millions of dollars from the National Treasury, despite it not being a public office. Umaru Fofana has been looking at the allegations.
I'm sitting in my car along the Freetown Peninsula. This is Bendembo Junction. Here, overlooking the Atlantic Ocean, is a three-story cream-colored building. On its gate is a palm print with the inscription, "Hands Off Our Girls." There are armed security personnel keeping guard outside the building. This is the office of the First Lady of Sierra Leone. Billions of leones, that is hundreds of thousands of US dollars, are alleged to have gone into furnishing the office of Fatima Mada Bio, as contained in the Africanist Press. The publication says the amount is part of millions of dollars from the Central Treasury that have gone into running an office which is not a public office and so cannot and should not be funded with taxpayers' money. Chernoh Bah is the editor-in-chief of the Africanist Press. He gave me the highlights of their report via WhatsApp from the United States.
In the last 2.5 years of the administration, at least a total of $3 million of government funds were illegally disbursed to the office of the First Lady. We were able to see that, for example, in 2018, a total of $789,000 that were disbursed from the consolidated fund to the organization. We are spent in 6 months on furnishing the office of the First Lady on questions of electronic equipment, on fuel, travel tickets, and hotel accommodation costs for foreign guests of the president's wife. So according to the laws of Sierra Leone, the financial regulations, a non-state institution is not authorized to receive public funding.
But Fatima Bio has strenuously denied any wrongdoing.
You are in my office, and I don't think you can spend $700. I don't even know how much the money was that he was talking about. What I have here, I have a desk, I have a sofa chair for people to sit, and I have a conference table here. It's definitely not true.
Chernoh Bah has further alleged that money that should have gone into the fight against the widespread sexual abuse of girls went into ostentatiousness.
The public money that was given to the organization for the fight against rape and teenage pregnancy were mostly spent on personal shopping needs. But most importantly, both the disbursement, the budgetary allocations were in violation of the finance laws of the country, and the utilization of the funds, did not follow the finance regulation, especially the Public Finance Management Act.
The First Lady explained to us how she receives money for the running of her office.
As far as I know, every First Lady before me, when they want something, they go to State House and they write. The office of the First Lady is part and parcel of the presidency. So if you want a table, you write to the office of the president. They buy the table and they brings it. How it is sourced, who sourced it, how much was paid, that is not my own concern because they don't consult me on those things.
So the office did receive funding from the Reconciliatory Revenue Fund, but through the office of the president. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying my office writes to the office of the president. So where they got the money from, I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know where they took it from.
How about when you launched your Hands Off Our Girls campaign, which is to protect young girls against predatory men? You invited some West African First Ladies to attend. Did you pay for their flights and accommodation?
I paid for the accommodation. That is what happened to when I visit them. The President of the Republic of Sierra Leone puts together the Hands Off Our Girl campaign. I am the face of the project.
So you're sure that all the procurements that happened legally, procedurally?
Like I said, those are questions that only the office of the president can answer.
I contacted the office of the president through the head of communication, Dr. Patrick Mwana. He assured me that the information minister would talk. Following a meeting at State House, apparently on the interview request, Information Minister Mohammed Rahman Soare called me to say no one would take the interview. I contacted the head of the Anti-Corruption Commission, Francis Benkaifala, to know whether or not they had looked into the matter. Not yet, he said, adding, and I quote, "The office is captured under audit and we will do our part as part of that review process."
Umaru for final reporting there. Now back.
Well, if I'm them on a all done yeri, the first lady say the office of the first lady na part and parcel of the office of the presidency. And say where the first lady in office wants something, then they write letter. When they don't write letter, don't waiting happen, waiting not happen, then they not concern them. Waiting you know is that in the write letter. So they ask and say, are you then admitting that waiting there inside your office, part of the consolidated fund, it come out? He say no, not to then they say in the right letter. You know, I've always tell this woman, have a spokesperson, have an advisory committee, have people who know how to answer these types of questions so that you do not fall in any you know, unwanted situations. There are people who are trained to be tactful in answering this question. But you know what's funny about all this? They say the Minister of Information go can't talk. But now in Minister of Information don't make yang. They say the State House press secretary or whoever go can't talk. Say that we not hear anything from them. They all don't make yang. So what is going on? Is this a direct or indirect admission of guilt? And if so, we want we money. We not care. I don't care with money. We money now we money. Just like with the you know, the what is it? The inquiry. Commission of Inquiry. We say we want we money. We want we money. We want, because one office cannot spend all of this money. But one chair, according to her, one table, according to her, one receiving bench, according to her. I mean, you are talking about serious money where for don't build hospitals them, where for don't build clinics them, where for don't build better schools them, where for don't buy more buses them, where for don't pay with doctors them handsomely, where for don't pay with nurses them handsomely. I mean, we see the COVID reports by the Auditor General. Whilst people were getting 400% raise in benefits, the people who were doing the grip and elbow work on the ground, they were not getting paid. And when they complain, guess what? Then tell them for say, una not patriotic. You know, they tell the people and where they do the work say they're not patriotic. Meanwhile, they compensate administrative staff up to 400% raise in bonus. I always say this. We have to get our priorities right, Sierra Leone. We've lost it and we need to bring it back. Mr. Bah, I want to make you respond to that interview. And make it Giwi in final word for this evening. We get Boku for talk. As a matter of fact, time will not permit us to even, get into some of the nitty-gritties. But there is always time. Another day will come. Mr. Bah, I give you the platform.
Yeah, thank you very much, Matilda. I think we don't underline the significant questions, and we don't point out one thing for put because this area about evidence. May government come out and explain. The government just get for explain to it. We don't publish this evidence. For example, not to the first lady, not to the first person to respond to the publications we will issue out. For the case of the first lady, if we take as an example, they say he talks he actually they receive government money but in not used the correct way, which we say is wrong. Okay, way back in March, on March 1, 2020, when we published the fact say the Minister of Finance get a bloated wage bill, the Minister of Finance come out and make their own statement. You know, so we not ever publish anything we're not supported by evidence, government primary documents. So we don't do this for a year. And I think so to make it take up to this point now, why the conversation don't arrive now, because now we don't see, people will see the illegal expenditure in clear terms, because for the First Lady, instead of being aware, say, the receipt of government funding, that we're not right. Now make it be the deny, say not be the getter. Now with the evidence come on, you say yes, indeed. So I'm expecting for pull the money, late admission. And on the third admission with the BBC, say you know, side the money come on, and request to make them on the presidency, no. So when the role of the office of the president, and I for tell we or answer to the people of Sierra Leone why he give in wealth money where we're not supposed to receive. So that one, not to whether the evidence is correct or not, they've already admitted to the evidence and it's correct. They cannot deny it. So we did beyond that one. The question is, why did they do it? And how the money was spent, where is the money? Those are the actual questions. But we can address this thing about job or no job, which I think an obstruction. Make the people where they watch we don't say, I not ever meet the wife of the president. I have never met Madam Fatima Jabibio as a person, physically. No sign of the world. In fact, by the time this government can have power, I may not relocate here because I get an offer for conduct research in the Northwestern. For do
you 1 second. I know I interrupt your thoughts. Sometimes they cheating and we person they talk, I can like for make emphasis. Yeah. Mr. Bah don't talk. He no one day see the First Lady Koro Kojuma Koju one day na in life. So then one day where they talk say na because he want work or na because he they look for work from them, he don't answer. He say, I no one day see the First Lady na me life Kojuma Koju Koro. He said, as a matter of a fact, the same self with the government, they come in power, he not be even this alone anymore. So there is no sign of there where they also be for brackets or side where they also meet na one igbale. Yeah. Then they don't solve. When I don't hear it from the person in self you must say one day, Kojuma Koju, you know ever see him.
Make a add. I already get a job. Now my job I do so. I'm a writer. I write books. Before this government can have power, I don't publish books. Okay? I don't. I write books, and besides, I attach na university. Before this government can have power, I get a fellowship. They do my PhD. Okay? Then I teach. I also assist for teaching the same university. So I am employed. Basically, that I say. Now me work as somebody we engage in academic work, now they earn me my own income. That's why they get me own money through me writing, me reading, and me study. So I don't go left farm for go find job to somebody. I'm not doing this because I want to make government give me a job. Or everybody within that administration or somebody know almost virtually everybody from the president. I don't meet them. One time I don't write them openly. Say I've met you people, I know them. So if I want what you call one job, because there is a time where we need for talk about political appointment. Say political appointment to a job. A job is something you apply for. You apply based on the qualifications where you get. You compete with other people. They interview you. They vet your qualification, your experience, and give you get the job based on you. Not the way somebody like you is second performance. So national service is not a job per se. Now an assignment with somebody that they give. So these people will talk about saying that job will be one because they've never worked in their lives. They don't know what the job is. You don't understand. So we got to define at times we need programs and for educating people that made a no difference between a job and a political appointment, or what you call a national assignment, national service. So but it come on from this idea that politicians at Sierra Leone, they're not getting nothing waiting they do other than for where this government kind of power appoint them, for the most part, majority of them, for the most part, get the state, that the umbrella organization, which people in the function, that's the only way which you will get a good salary. For example, how you go explain which the nutrition of the president, they get a salary more than a university professor. You don't understand. And the cameraman of the president for now get over 21 million. A senior lecturer, I know they go up to 20 million before this then promise of increased now. So what we are saying is that now that kind of idea outside the state, the government are the only place where they get good salary and good conditions are basically for loot. Now it make people in the field say, when you criticize government, you say want that opportunity for the part of the gang for loot. We know we all want that thing there. We know there's more to life than being part of a kabudu we want for loot national way. They operate this way for loot the treasury for the union vote itself. So we done the whole government then to account before Madam Fatima Bio meet even Madam Bio as a student in England. We have done this in the days of Tijan Kabad. We've done it for 10 good years under Ernest Kroma. Madam Bio is even a witness, because if you look in Facebook page, you see say they even share some of the writings that they do. The SLP party newspaper even publish them. So if we do this for wait for job, that job will be wait for from Tijan Kabad in time to now. I mean, impossible. This is 20 years of work. You go to the Salon Library, you must, if I calculate the years of what I don't put into writing and trying to hold governments accountable to this point, it's at minimum 20 years. And the evidence is there, including evidence that is distributed by the SLPP, these guys that are currently in power when they were in opposition. Madabio, for example, even shared on his Facebook page, campaign page in 2018, some of the things that were been say about how the APC was running the country. And they supported those messages and writings and voices before even Madam Fatima Bio meet Madabio as in potential husband, and before even think about becoming First Lady of Sierra Leone. So in Osabi, the country, in Osabi, people don't become active. That's why he makes. So I excuse that statement as a statement coming from ignorance. In Osabi me, he not meet me, and the people that we tell her they misinform her. So she was misinformed about what I represent and what I stand for. So for me, then but perhaps again, not deliberate thing for distract from the actual conversation, because whether somebody wants a job or not, address the question of the current looting of the treasury. Address the question of you and your husband spending more than $1 million, taking money to Lebanon of all places, $1 million. Or you're spending $500,000 on travel in December alone, at a time when people who have their savings in the banks could not even get their own money. So these questions, like the bigger questions, they're not getting nothing to do with me or you, Matilda, or any other side. And the fact of the matter, we have to raise these questions, whether Mother building a power or any other person. These are right questions that every person within a power the people of Sierra Leone an answer to. And I want to make we push this campaign for it's about the future of the country, the future of young Pekin and generations yet unborn. People for begin petition them parliamentarians and ask them for demand answers on why this government decide for example, the First Lady money way is supposed not entitled to. How much money the president come out and tell the people of Sierra Leone how much money he has spent on international travel. Make it publish the whole record of his travel. Make the people see if this government is transparent, let them publish the record of the president in travel. If you're not doing now that's what we begin to do. That's basically what we are doing. We're basically showing the people of Sierra Leone how much of their taxpayers' money has been spent in funding the travel and per diem allowances of the president and the First Lady. When the president travel, for example, where they come America, they take $150,000, in West Bank take $70,000. When they go England the first time, the president take $50,000. He take $20,000. I mean, take that $something thousand pounds. In WFCF take 25,000 pounds as per them. They are going together. So this not only the money we talk about, the account where they use so, and we want this record for be out so the public will know how the monies are being used, and they will know whether this government transparent, whether they get fiscal discipline as they promise, or they have actually cut down on public expenditure. This thing where every country in citizens is supposed to do. In order to do it, whether you are APC, SLPP, MGC, it has to do with Sierra Leoneans. It has to do with citizenship, the right of every citizen for demand from a government, whether that government is your party, your friend, your uncle in power. Because this money we're talking about is not the private property of any individual. It's the national wealth of the country. Okay? So the national wealth of the country has to be used. If you don't have made a whole little account, you have no business trying to manage people's resources. Go into your private practice and do your own private thing. Nobody is going to ask you. But when you come to the question of a country with 8 million people and the future of a country, the people have the right to ask these questions. And when they ask these questions, not because they hate you or they want you to bribe them. No, they want you to run the country the way it's supposed to be run, because your decisions and your actions, they affect millions of people. Look, then they talk about a healthcare worker, a woman who needed urgent medical care. They were raising tiny amount of money, and you get this individual spending this money. Yeah, tiny little bit. People have to go for citizens all over the world. They will begin seeing the collectivized spending, and this is not like one incident. If you check the number of incidents where people don't begin to spend money for help people with health care, from these sick babies, you see these campaigns by Charles, for example, about these sick babies that are going to India every now and then. These young people coming to the street for begin to collect money from drivers on the street. Charles said in group, talk about sick children fund, struggling to take care of babies. With some with bad defects, some with tiny little problems, and you get these billions and billions and billions that individuals are stealing, and you get these tiny individuals in the corner because of their party affiliations, their ethnic affiliations, and their regional affiliations. They insult people then, and they say we want jobs. Now that make they talk about these things. people need for thinking, because these kinds of things have consequences, not just for the people who you're governing, even yourself, because you're not going to be in power forever. So the more we talk about these things, the more serious the problem becomes. But I think we all agree on one thing, that for 50 to 60 years now of what we call independence, this situation keeps getting worse. Okay, you make the point, say, do we have to wait until a new government comes? We talk about an inquiry, and some of this evidence get lost in the way. So I think we have an opportunity to face corruption in his life as a living organism. Okay? And because a living organism is so dynamic, it's an opportunity for us to tackle it head on and talk about them. On my part and my team, we've decided that we will provide the evidence of this graph from government records for make people and say, so this thing they happen. We can talk about them, but this is how it's happening. It's like you have a patient that is stubborn and is sick and does not want to admit that he or she is sick. And what you do, you take the person at the theater and force the surgery so they see, sure, this is the disease. So that's what we're doing. That's what this thing is all about. It's about showing the people of Sierra Leone how their monies are being stolen. Not just the idea that it's being stolen, but showing them how it's stolen, who is stealing this money, and the pathways to which that stolen money, travels, and where that money ends up, where it goes, and the consequences of that. It makes sure that we know to get electricity, we know to get good hospitals, we know to get good roads, we know to get quality education, we know to pay teachers, we know to pay doctors, we know to pay nurses. Only a handful of individuals live off these resources. I mean, it doesn't help. So I want to thank you for this opportunity for make we share with the people of Sierra Leone. Let us continue this conversation. Democracy gets better when citizens are engaged, when citizens are able to ask the hard questions to leaders that they elect. They will, I don't say them with a vex. Parties, SLPP supporters with a vex and say, you want to put win a power, you want to make so. The same people with the vex so now that same one be the glad the whole APC. So we got to be friends. In the final analysis, when the country gets better, we're going to be friends. So we're not taken too hard. It's about the progress of the country. It's about the quality of governance. We want the lifestyle of people for improvement in the country. We look forward to a better country. We have our kids, we have our families, we are Australians. We want the better for our kids. We don't go through all these challenges. 20 years of 20 years of the same thing. They take an article where I write 2002, where I read and today, Italic and today writer. Why? Because the conditions that we're talking about still persist. They've gotten worse. So in some cases, just for remove APC, you put SLPP. If you SLPP in power, it defeat exact. So it's unfortunate that we have to be talking about this monumental crisis every now and then. So thank you, Voice of Sierra Leone, for the opportunity. This is wonderful. We thank God that we get this new media. As you see, the challenge with old media nowadays, some of our friends who hosted us in the past cannot do this because apart from the stealing of public resources, there's a serious climate of repression in the country. Some people have been compromised, others are afraid the climate of, So, but we, now with this new age of technology, leaders will understand that they have to live with the culture of democracy, that they cannot merge with people. So, which is what makes VOS and all these other platforms very important. So, I salute the kind of work that you do, and we will call on people and for support these kinds of initiatives wherever they exist and multiply them. Because it's only through these opportunities for people to engage each other and get this kind of dialogue, and then go allow we get to where we want. I strongly believe that any group of people that we properly informed with the right information, then go definitely find out what to do for change the conditions under which they live. And that will forfeit for do. Give the people the required information and see what they can do with it. So exactly. I don't know if I don't answer all the questions, but things in that. Yeah. If you get another question you want to ask me, please feel free. We can wrap them up.
Absolutely. So tell Mr. Bah, boku, thank you. I know for say we don't cross the 2-hour margin in this discussion a lot. I again sincerely apologize for the technical difficulties. Some people when they tell me, Matilda, we see you face green. What happened? We know one day see you face green. Okay, we dey get some technical difficulty, but like I promised Suna, even in the face of this technical difficulty, I wasn't going to back down. I was going to give you, as I promised, an unfiltered conversation with Chernoh Bah. I think I don't deliver that tonight.